Racist cop shaves simple black woman's head in court. He stands stunned when she takes the bench. It's a Tuesday morning just like any other, until it isn't. The cops at the door think she's nobody. They're about to learn they just crossed the wrong woman. She's not just a citizen, she's the one person who can unravel their entire world. What happens next is a courtroom twist that'll leave you speechless. Stick around, because this story's about to hit like a freight train. Drop in the comments, where are you watching from? Miriam adjusts her glasses as she climbs the courthouse steps, her breath steady, her eyes scanning the towering columns. She's not here to make a scene. She's here for work, same as always. No one would guess she's a federal judge. She doesn't wear her robe outside the courtroom, never has. She likes to blend in, to move through the world like anyone else. But today that choice becomes a weapon turned against her. At the security checkpoint, the mood shifts like a storm rolling in. Officer Dale Carver, a courthouse deputy with a buzz cut and a chip on his shoulder, locks eyes with her. He doesn't know her, doesn't care to. To him, she's just another black woman in a place where power doesn't come cheap. "Step aside," Carver barks, his voice sharp enough to cut glass. Miriam pauses, one eyebrow lifting. "Is there an issue, officer?" Her tone is calm, professional, but it only seems to irritate him more. He steps closer, his boots heavy on the tile. "No ID, no entry, and you're getting a random check." Miriam reaches into her purse, pulls out her federal credentials, the badge glinting under the fluorescent lights. Carver snatches it, barely, glances at it and stuffs it into his pocket. "You'll get this back when I'm done," he says, smirking. The word "ma'am" is nowhere in his mouth. Another deputy, a younger guy with twitchy hands, hovers nearby, watching but silent. Miriam's voice stays even. "I need to get to my courtroom." Carver leans in, his breath sour. "You'll get there when I say so, sweetheart." The word lands like a slap. He grabs her arm, not gently, and pulls her toward a side corridor, away from the bustling lobby. The hallway is dim, the air stale. A steel door clicks shut behind them, locking them in a windowless screening room. Miriam's pulse quickens, but her face betrays nothing. "I don't consent to this," she says, her voice clear as a bell. Carver scoffs. "Consent's not on the menu." He points to a metal chair in the center of the room. "Sit." She doesn't move. Two more deputies step in, one holding a pair of clippers. Miriam's eyes narrow. "What are you doing?" Carver grins, flipping the clippers on. The buzz fills the room like a swarm of wasps. "Standard procedure. Can't have you hiding anything in that mess." He gestures to her braids. Miriam's heart slams against her ribs, but she stands taller. "This is illegal. You have no cause." Carver steps closer, the clippers humming. "Cause? Your cause enough." Before she can react, a deputy grabs her shoulders, forcing her into the chair. The clippers touch her scalp, cold and sharp. Braids fall one by one, piling on the floor like severed roots. Years of care, of pride, of history, gone in seconds. Laughter erupts from one of the deputies. "Looks better already," he mutters. Carver wipes hair from his sleeve. "Should have known your place." Miriam's fists clench, her knuckles pale, but her eyes stay dry. She doesn't scream, doesn't beg. She just sits, staring straight ahead, as her dignity is stripped away. When it's over, Carver tosses her badge back. "Courtroom's that way," he sneers, pointing to the door. Miriam stands, her legs steady, her expression unreadable. Her scalp stings, uneven patches where her braids once were. She walks out, each step deliberate, her purse still slung over her shoulder. But inside something burns, not just rage, but purpose. In minutes, that purpose will turn this courthouse upside down. Because what Carver doesn't know is this. Miriam Tate isn't here as a defendant. She's not here to plead. She's the judge, and she's about to take her bench. The hallway to the courtroom feels longer than it should. Miriam's flats echo against the marble, each step a quiet rebellion. Her scalp prickles, raw and exposed, but her face is a mask of calm. She passes a clerk who glances at her, then looks away, guilt flickering in his eyes. He saw something, heard something, but he didn't stop it. No one did. The silence in the corridor is deafening, broken only by the low hum of voices behind the courtroom doors. Today's a big day, a hearing on police misconduct. tied to a violent arrest at a protest last summer. The press is here, cameras ready, the gallery packed. Miriam was supposed to slip in through the judges' chambers, robe up and take the bench with decorum, but not today. She stops outside the double doors, her hand resting on the brass handle. For a moment she closes her eyes, letting the weight of what just happened settle. Her braids, her pride, lie in a pile on a cold floor. But she's not broken. Not even close. She pushes the doors open and the room falls silent. Heads turn. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Miriam walks down the aisle, her cardigan still on, her purse in hand, her scalp bare and uneven. Lawyers freeze mid-sentence. Reporters scribble furiously. At the front, the judge's bench sits empty, waiting, and then it clicks. The woman they saw dragged away like a suspect. The woman whose hair was shorn like she was nothing isn't a victim. She's the judge. Miriam steps behind the bench, her movements slow, deliberate. She doesn't look at Carver, stationed by the side door, but she feels his stare, his sudden stillness. His face drains of color, his hands twitching at his belt. She sets her purse down, reaches for her robe, folded neatly on the chair. No one helps her. She doesn't need them to. She slips it on, the fabric settling over her shoulders like armor. The room holds its breath. "Is the docket ready?" she asks the clerk, her voice steady. The clerk stammers, "Yes, Your Honor." Miriam nods, lowering herself into the chair. The leather creaks softly. She looks out over the courtroom, her gaze sweeping past attorneys, defendants, and onlookers. Carver shifts, his boots scuffing the floor, but she doesn't acknowledge him. Not yet. "We'll begin with case 4923B, United States versus Memphis Police Department," she says, as if the last hour never happened. "Charges of excessive force and civil rights violations. All parties present?" A chorus of "Yes, Your Honor" echoes back. The attorneys are rattled, their briefcases half open, their notes scattered. Some look at her with awe, others with unease. The press leans. Forward, pens flying. Miriam calls the first witness, a young black man who was beaten during the protest, his arm still in a sling. He testifies about the batons, the screams, the blood on the pavement. Miriam listens, her pen moving across her legal pad, her face unreadable, but inside every word lands like a stone, heavy and sharp. From the corner of her eye she sees Carver edging toward the exit. His hands tremble, his jaw tight. He knows what's coming. After the second witness, Miriam calls a recess. The courtroom empties, whispers buzzing like static. She stays seated, her hands folded on the bench. When the room is nearly empty, she finally looks at Carver. "Deputy Carver," she says, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. He freezes. "Step forward." He moves slowly, like a man walking to his own execution. "State your full name for the record," she says. His voice cracks. Dale Carver." She leans forward. "How long have you served here?" 9 years, he mumbles. "And in those 9 years, how many people have you assaulted in that screening room?" His mouth opens, but no sound comes out. The clerk shifts uncomfortably. The remaining officers look at their shoes. "Answer the question," Miriam says, her tone ice-cold. I didn't know who you were," he stammers, her eyes narrow. "That's not what I asked. The room is so quiet you can hear Carver's ragged breathing." 7 complaints, she says, her voice rising just enough to pin him in place. 7 filed against you, all buried, all dismissed, because you thought no one would notice. Carver's face crumples. You thought I was no one," she cuts in. "Just another black woman you could break for sport." She stands, her robe rustling. "Effective immediately. You're suspended pending a criminal investigation. Officers, escort him out." 2 deputies move, cuffs in hand. Carver's voice rises. "You can't do this." But she already has. The door slams shut behind him, and the room feels different. Like a weight has lifted, but the fight's just begun. The courtroom hums with tension as people file back in after the recess. Word of Carver's suspension spreads like wildfire, and the gallery is packed tighter than before. Reporters cram into the back, their cameras clicking. Miriam sits behind the bench, her robe a stark contrast to her bare scalp, her glasses catching the light. She doesn't look like a judge who's been humiliated. She looks like a force of nature. The next witness takes the stand. A black woman, in her 50s, a nurse named Carla Evans. She was at the protest, saw the police swarm, saw a teenage girl slammed to the ground for holding a sign. Her testimony is raw, her voice shaking but resolute. Miriam listens, her pen still, her eyes locked on Carla. Every detail, the girl's screams, the officer's laughter, the blood on the asphalt, cuts deeper than the last. She doesn't interrupt, doesn't need to. Carla's words do the work, slicing through the room's pretense. When Carla steps down, Miriam leans forward. "Miss Evans, thank you for your courage. This court hears you." The words are simple, but they land like a vow. A woman in the gallery wipes her eyes. A reporter's. Pen stops mid-sentence. The defense attorney rises, his tie slightly crooked, his confidence fraying. He tries to redirect, to paint the protest as chaotic, the police as overwhelmed. Miriam cuts him off with a single raised hand. "Counselor, I'm not here for narratives. I'm here for facts. Stick to them." The room shifts, the power unmistakable. She calls the next witness, a former deputy who quit after the protest. His name is Jamal Reed, mid-30s, his hands rough from years on the job. He testifies about the orders to clear the street, no questions asked. "I saw Carver give the signal," he says. "He wasn't calming things down. He was escalating." Miriam's voice is steady. "Did you report this?" Jamal hesitates, then nods. "Filed a memo. It vanished. They told me to keep quiet, or I'd lose my pension." The gallery murmurs, anger rippling. Miriam's gavel taps once, silencing them. "Who told you to stay quiet?" she asks. Jamal's jaw tightens. "Chief of Security. Said Carver was untouchable." Her pen pauses. "Not anymore." The words are soft, but they hit like a hammer. Jamal steps down, his shoulders lighter, like he's finally exhaled after years of holding his breath. In her chambers during the next recess, Miriam sits alone, staring at a stack of files on her desk. 7 complaints against Carver, just like, she said, but she knows there's more. She runs a hand over her scalp, the uneven patches a reminder of what she's fighting for. A knock at the door. It's her clerk holding a sealed envelope. "From the DOJ, Your Honor. They're opening an investigation into the courthouse, starting with Carver." Miriam nods, her face unreadable. "Good. Tell them to dig deeper." "This isn't just one man," the clerk hesitates. "There's something else." "The footage from this morning, it's online. Everywhere, people are calling you a hero." Miriam's lips press into a thin line. "I'm not a hero. I'm just doing my job." But when the clerk leaves, she glances at her phone. A news alert. "Judge assaulted in courthouse takes bench, demands justice." She sets the phone down, her hands steady but her chest tight. This isn't about her. It's about the Carlas, the Jamals, the ones who've been silenced for too long. Back in the courtroom, the energy has shifted. The crowd is louder, bolder, like they're starting to believe change is possible. Miriam takes her seat, her robe settling around her. "Next witness," she says, and a young woman steps forward. She's barely 20, an intern named Kyla, her glasses fogged from nerves. "I saw what happened this morning," she says, her voice small but clear. "Outside the screening room. I should have spoken up. I was scared." Miriam leans forward, her voice gentle. "You're speaking now, that's what matters." Kyla straightens. "If you need me to testify, I will." The room feels heavier, like the truth is finally breaking through. Miriam calls another witness, an elderly black man who was shoved during the protest, his hip fractured. His testimony is quiet, deliberate, each word a weight. When he finishes, Miriam looks at him not as a judge, but as someone who knows what it's like to be unseen. "You've been heard," she says. The man nods, his eyes wet. The courtroom, it doesn't feel like a courtroom anymore. It feels like a reckoning, and Miriam Tate is its heart. The courtroom is electric now, the air thick with anticipation. Miriam Tate sits behind the bench, her presence commanding, her scalp a silent testament to the morning's violence. The gallery is overflowing, Reporters, activists, locals, even a few law students clutching notebooks. Word of her stand against Carver has spread, and the courthouse steps outside are crowded with protesters, their signs reading "Justice Now" and "Protect Black Women." Inside, the next witness takes the stand. A black mother named Denise. Holmes, her hands trembling as she grips the mic. She speaks of her son, 16, beaten during the protest, his jaw wired shut for months. "They called him a thug," she says, her voice breaking. "He was just walking home." Miriam's pen is still, her eyes locked on Denise. The pain in the woman's words mirrors her own, a shared wound laid bare. "Thank you, Miss Holmes," she says when Denise finishes. "This court sees you." The words are simple, but they carry a promise. The defense attorney tries to cross-examine, suggesting Denise's son provoked the police. Miriam's voice cuts through like a whip. "Counselor, you're treading on thin ice. Move on." The attorney sits, his face flushed. The room knows who's in charge. The next witness is a surprise, a retired courthouse clerk named Evelyn Carter, a black woman in her 60s, her hair gray and tightly curled. She worked records for 20 years, saw everything. "I filed complaints against Carver," she says, her voice steady. "At least 10, they were all buried." Miriam leans forward. "By whom?" Evelyn's eyes don't waver. "Judge Harlan Brooks. He said Carver kept order, that we shouldn't stir trouble." The name lands like a grenade. Brooks, a respected judge, retired last year, Miriam's mentor once. Her jaw tightens, but she doesn't flinch. "Thank you, Ms. Carter," she says. "Your testimony is noted." The courtroom buzzes, the weight of Evelyn's words sinking in. This isn't just about Carver anymore. It's about the system that shielded him. Miriam calls a recess and the room empties, but the tension lingers. In her chambers, she opens a folder slipped to her by a nervous administrator. Inside are memos, emails, signatures, 10 complaints against Carver, all dismissed by Brooks. One memo stands out, dated 3 years ago. "Carver's methods are harsh but effective. Leave him be." Miriam's fingers curl around the page. The betrayal burns, but it fuels her. She steps back into the courtroom, the crowd rising as she takes the bench. "Before we proceed," she says, holding up the folder, "I'm entering new evidence into the record. Complaints against Deputy Carver, suppressed by courthouse officials." The defense attorney objects, his voice shaky. Miriam's gaze pins him. "Sit down." She turns to the gallery. "This court will not protect silence over truth, not anymore." A murmur of agreement ripples through the crowd. A young woman in the back stands holding a sign, "We see you, Judge Tate." The next witness is a U.S. Marshal, Robert King, a black man in his 50s, his voice gravelly from years of service. He worked the courthouse a decade ago, saw Carver's cruelty firsthand. "I reported him once," he says. "My supervisor told me to drop it. Said Carver was one of us." Miriam's voice is sharp. "Who was your supervisor?" King hesitates, then says, "Chief of Security under Brooks' orders." The room stirs again. Miriam's gavel taps once. "Let the record show." A pattern of obstruction. During the next recess, Miriam's clerk brings news. The DOJ is escalating their investigation, and the Senate Judiciary Committee wants her statement. She nods, her face calm but her mind racing. This is bigger than she planned, but she's not backing down. Back in the courtroom, the energy is feverish. The final witness of the day is a young black man, a protester named Malik, who filmed the police violence. His footage, shaky but clear, shows Carver laughing as he swings his baton. The gallery gasps as the video plays. Miriam's voice is steady. This is what they called order. As the day ends, Miriam sits in her chambers, staring at her reflection. In a small mirror, her scalp, bare and uneven, feels like a battle scar. She touches it, not with shame, but with resolve. A knock. It's her brother Jamal, a mechanic with calloused hands and a quiet strength. He doesn't say much, just sets a pair of clippers on her desk. "You don't have to hide," he says. Miriam nods, her eyes meeting his. "I'm not." He starts the clippers, gentle, deliberate, evening out the patches. When he's done, she looks in the mirror, bold, bare, unbroken. The courthouse is a fortress under siege. Outside, the crowd has doubled. Protesters, reporters, citizens holding signs in the rain. Inside, the courtroom is packed to the walls, the air heavy with expectation. Miriam Tate steps onto the bench, her robe crisp, her scalp bare and proud. The room rises, not just out of protocol, but out of reverence. She taps the gavel once. Court is in session. The defense attorney, sweating now, rises to request a recusal, claiming Miriam's assault makes her biased. She cuts him off, her voice like steel. Bias? Bias is a deputy shaving a woman's head because of her skin. Bias is 10 complaints buried to protect a bully. I'm not recusing myself. Sit down. The room exhales the power hers. The next witness is a former deputy, Angela Price, a black woman who left after Carver threatened her. He said I'd end up like the others if I talked, she says, her voice firm. I saw him target black. Women, black men, anyone who looked out of place. Miriam's pen pauses. Did you report this? Angela nods. 3 times, all dismissed by Brooks. The gallery stirs, anger simmering. Miriam's voice is calm but cutting. Who signed the dismissals? Angela's answer is a blade. Judge Brooks and the chief clerk. The testimony cracks the room open. Miriam enters more evidence, Brooks's memos, emails ordering silence. The defense tries to object, but she shuts it down. This court is done with excuses. The final witness is a surprise, a white reporter, Sarah Klein, who broke the story of Carver's complaints years ago. I was told to drop it, she says, by courthouse officials. They said it'd ruin careers. Miriam's gaze is steady. Whose careers? Sarah hesitates, then says, Brooks, the security chief, the DA's office. The room erupts in murmurs. Miriam's gavel silences them. During recess, Miriam meets a DOJ official in her chambers. He hands her a letter. The courthouse is under federal review and Brooks is being investigated. You've started something big, he says. Miriam's response is quiet. It's not about me, it's about them. She nods toward the gallery, the people who've been ignored. Back in the courtroom, the energy is feverish. Miriam addresses the room. This isn't just a hearing, it's a reckoning. For every complaint buried, every voice silenced. A man in the gallery stands, his voice shaking. I was arrested by Carver in 19. He broke my wrist. They said I fell. Another woman rises. He searched me for no reason, laughed when I cried. One by one, hands go up. 10, 15, 20. Miriam watches, her face still, but her eyes burn. Let the record show these voices, she says. The court reporter's hands shake as she types. The defense attorney's face is pale. The room feels alive, like the truth is finally free. Miriam calls the final witness, a black teenager named Tasha who was at the protest. Carver kicked me, she says, her voice barely audible. I was just holding a sign. Miriam leans forward. You're heard, Tasha. You're seen. As the day ends, Miriam steps off the bench, her robe heavy but her steps light. The gallery watches in silence, some crying, some nodding. Outside, the rain has stopped, and the crowd chants her name. She doesn't acknowledge it. In her chambers, she sits, staring at a new file. A policy proposal, the Tate mandate requiring anti-bias training and zero tolerance for courthouse misconduct. She closes the file, her resolve ironclad. This isn't the end, it's the beginning. The final day dawns with a storm. Rain pounds Memphis, but the courthouse steps are packed. Protesters, families, reporters, all soaked but unyielding. Inside, the courtroom is a crucible. Every seat taken, every eye on Miriam Tate. She walks in, no robe, just her cardigan and bare scalp, her presence enough to silence the room. She pauses, then speaks. I've worn the robe, sat on the bench, followed the law. But I've also been silent too long. Today, that ends. She steps forward, her voice steady. This court finds Deputy Dale Carver guilty of abuse of power, civil rights violations and obstruction. Maximum penalties, 7 years imprisonment. The room is still, the verdict sinking in. She holds up the Tate mandate. Effective immediately. This courthouse will enforce anti-bias training, evaluations and zero tolerance for discrimination. I'll take this to the circuit, the Senate, if I must. The gallery nods, some crying, some gripping hands. She turns to the defense. You protected a system that failed. You're on notice. She nods to the officers. Carver, in cuffs, is led in. His face is hollow, his power gone. You thought you could break me, Miriam says, her voice calm, but fierce. You were wrong. He's taken away, the door slamming shut. Miriam adjourns the court, the gavel's tap echoing. The room doesn't cheer, just watches, bearing witness. In her chambers, her brother Jamal waits. He hands her a mirror. Look at you, he says. She does. Her scalp, bare and bold, feels like a crown. She smiles, small but real. Outside, a crowd waits. An elderly black woman touches her arm. You gave us hope, she says. Her teenager with a shaved head nods, a silent bond. That night, Miriam stands on her porch, the city quiet. Her phone buzzes, headlines, emails, a White House invitation for a justice medal. She lets it wait. Tonight, she breathes. Months later, the Tate mandate spreads. Other courthouses adopt it. Her bill is drafted in Congress. Miriam keeps working, her courtroom a place where voices are heard. She visits a school, kids asking, "How do you keep going?" She answers, "Because you're watching." The White House ceremony comes, and she speaks. This isn't mine, it's for everyone told they don't belong. The applause is deep, real. Somewhere Carver watches from a prison TV, silent, as the woman he tried to break becomes a symbol of truth. This story isn't just about Miriam Tate. It's about dignity, accountability, and saying, enough. If it moved you, share it. Like this video, subscribe, and tell us in the comments, what does justice mean to you? Because this fight doesn't end here. It starts with us, right now.